Today we're going to cook mince meat pies two different ways. One using bread as the crust and the second one using puff pastry, and we're going to do them in a jaffle iron. You'll need to get a fire going for some coals for when you want to cook the stuff, and you can get that going so that they're preparing while you prepare the ingredients. The ingredients are pretty simple. It's 500 grams of ground beef, finely diced one brown onion, and you can chop up some mushrooms if you feel like to taste. We're going to put some mushrooms in this. Another option that you have as well, you could also throw in a handful of frozen mixed vegetables. It's to your taste. Two different types of pies. The bread-based one, you need to butter the bread on one side only, and that's the side that'll be touching the jaffle iron. For the puff pastry pie, that's hard to say, but for that one, be sure to take the pastry out of the freezer a little bit ahead of time so that it's soft enough to fold into the contours of the jaffle iron. Just get the jaffle iron a little bit warm, not hot, before you load the bread and ingredients. So now we'll just take a quick moment to go and brown up these ingredients and get the filling ready to go into the pies. It's important to make sure that your jaffle iron is sprayed or has got butter on it to stop your pie sticking when you try to take it out. So I'm using some canola oil spray. That's all it takes. It's nice and easy. You can use a bit of butter as well. Here's the nice pie filling there. It's ground beef with some onion and mushrooms browned up, and I just like a little dash of Worcestershire sauce. It's the secret ingredient there. And just stir that in, and then we'll get our pastry on the jaffle iron and ready to fill. With the puff pastry, you cut one sheet into 4 pieces, and so on. One in the top, and one next to him in his little mate there, and then you just gently, particularly if it's still a little frozen, it'll crack, so it's important to leave it out and let it get warmed up so that it forms into the shape of the jaffle iron quite nicely. Time to put the fill into the pastry in the jaffle iron. It's important to make sure you've got enough fill in there that it presses the pastry against the jaffle iron so that it actually cooks. If it's not full enough, then the pastry will just collapse in the middle. So, but it's a tricky balance there. You don't want to make it so fat that it's all bloated and explodes. In there, it's time to add the gravy because it's a pie. You've got to have gravy. Now the gravy, you can buy this in any supermarket. It's pre-made, so pour that over the top. We'll fold this up. Get a good squeeze on there, clamp it down, and it's ready to go on the fire. We have our fire ready and the coals are hot. I'm just going to pop this straight on the grill above the coals there. I've left the pastry around the edge. Some people do that, and when the pastry starts to go all black and burned, then it should be all good on the inside. So we'll see. Time to flip these pies over. You can see some of the puff pastries browning quite well on the outside. Let's see how these look. He doesn't look too bad. The other one with a bit of doesn't look too bad at all there. I think they'll do. We'll just trim off this excess puff pastry around the edges here, and then they'll be ready to go. And they are ready to go. There's one, looks very nice. That looks very nice. Now, they look very nice. They've come out well. That was about 20 minutes on the fire, not directly on coals, but on a grill above the coals. So if you're directly on coals, a little bit shorter, I'd suggest. This method of making meat pies uses buttered bread. For those that don't have freezers and can't carry puff pastry around, you can always just use bread buttered on one side. That goes down onto the iron side of the jaffle. And then we'll repeat with the fill and heat. Time to fill the bread pies. With all the fill now on the bread, time for the gravy, can't forget that. That's what a pie is about. And time to close and heat. Yeah, that's still pretty warm. Time to flip these bread pies over, give the other side a go. Time to have a look at these. Nice golden top. I think I'm going to call that. They're done. Here's the finished product. It was 20 minutes with the puff pastry pies, and it was 15 minutes with the bread and butter based pies. Time to cut them open. First, I'll cut open the bread and butter pie. Looks very nice there. The pastry pie. And that looks very nice too. That worked out quite nicely. I hope it works out well for you. And we've just eaten both versions of those pies, and we really couldn't tell much difference between the two. So for simplicity purposes, I think the bread based pie, where you simply butter a couple of slices of bread and put some filling in, would be the winner for us. But we'll leave it for you to decide, and we hope you enjoy them whichever way you cook them.